We recently had a viewer reach out to us on our Facebook page and they asked us, how come you guys haven't created a video on Twitter ads yet? I was looking and I was like, no, that's not true. We totally have. Oh, wait. We really don't have a video on Twitter ads. Well, that's going to change today. So in today's video, I want to talk about all the targeting options you have within Twitter ads. There's a lot of them, so this is going to be one of the longer videos, but it's going to be very helpful if you haven't used Twitter ads or you haven't used it in a long time. So before I start this video, I just want to keep in mind, this is not a full campaign setup. I'm only talking about the targeting options. And I also want to make sure and clarify that this video won't go over the pixel setup. We're going to assume that you already have that in place. So let's go over all the targeting options you can have for your ad campaigns in Twitter. We are here in the campaign creation interface in Twitter ads. And our first targeting option is to test out your audiences. And you have the ability to create tailored and flexible audiences, and I'll explain both of those really soon. Now, even though we just got to the targeting option within the campaign creation phase, if we want to look at audiences, we actually need to head up top and go to the Twitter Audience Manager. When you set up your pixel on your website, it's real easy to create a remarketing tag and start building an audience off of anyone who's visited your website. And tailored audiences based off of web visits are going to be the most common types of audiences that you can create and use for your Twitter ads. Just go up and click on Create New Audience. And even if you already have your tag set up, you still need to choose the Make a Tag to collect website visitors. You will first have to name your audience, and then you can start setting up your audience rules. Twitter recommends using the universal website tag, and to me that's the easiest way to implement this, but you do have an option to create a new tag for each audience you want to create. I personally have never used the single event website tag. To me, it's just easier to place a universal tag through Tag Manager, and then I could set up as many audiences as I want through this one tag. On the previous page, we saw that I already had an audience created for all website visits, but you have the option to choose a specific URL, or you can create an audience off of people who have visited specific pages on the website. You do have the option to add additional conditions. And as you see in the title section, just a little bit over to the left, each condition that you're adding, a user can meet any of the following conditions. So to reword it, I'm creating an audience rule that states, build an audience off of users who visited any page on my site that says guest blogs, or they landed on any page that contains speaker /. I'm not narrowing my audience by adding more conditions. I'm actually broadening out the reach for my audience. And if everything looks good, you can click the agree and save this tailored audience. It's just created, it's too small, but once traffic builds up, I'll be able to check back in the Audience Manager and see if I can start using it within my Twitter ads campaigns. Another option you have for a tailored audience is uploading your customer list. Again, we need to click the Create New Audience button and choose the first option, which is Upload Your Own List. Again, we need to name the specific audience, and then we could choose to upload our customer list file. And you can see right here the 3 specific file types that are allowed for you to upload your list. So now that I have selected my file, I can click Next. And then you just need to map your columns. In my specific file, I just had 1 row of email addresses. So it makes sense for me to choose that email address as what this specific column is. But as you can see in the dropdown, you have the option to also format your customer list by phone number, Twitter username, Twitter user ID, and the user's mobile advertising ID. That may give you some ideas of, ooh, I can do some pretty fun targeting with these options right here, but we need to head back up a little bit and make sure that you read and agree to the tailored audience's terms of use. You should not be combing through Twitter, randomly writing down people's usernames, building your own audience, and then running ads against those users without them ever giving you permission to do so. So make sure you read the terms of use that Twitter has before uploading your specific list to make sure that you are compliant before running any campaigns using these lists. But I'm just using email right now, and this particular list was coming from a newsletter where people gave permission, so I'm good to just upload and create this list. My upload is complete, and then we can click done. And now this particular list is processing. I'm going to just check back frequently. And once Twitter has matched enough of these email addresses with actual accounts within the platform, I'll be able to use this list for a targeting option within my Twitter ads campaigns. The third tailored audience option is to build an audience from your mobile app users. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any clients using Twitter ads to promote their app, but you can set up conversion tracking through one of Twitter's partners to track installs, signups, visits to the mobile app, a variety of these different actions. And once you have these conversion actions set up for your mobile app, Twitter will automatically create the audiences for you from these actions. And then you can use them for additional remarketing campaigns. But since I can't use these, I'm just going to backtrack. Now we've gone through a few of the tailored audiences. Now let's talk about flexible audiences. If we go up again and create a new audience, the last option is to build a flexible audience. Here is where we can add a little customization to our audience building. I just named my audience really quick. And I'm using my personal website here that I usually play around with. So some of the tailored audiences won't show up right away because I'm just building them right now. But you will be able to go and search for a tailored audience or browse any tailored audience that would be available to use as a flexible audience. So a few options I had set up in my personal one is a standard remarketing tag one with all visitors. I will have the list that I uploaded from the Shopify customers. And then you have the option to add some frequency to it. So with this setup, I'm saying I'm going to target users who have visited my website more than 5 times. And then you also have the option to use a look back. This is assuming you have had the Twitter pixel on your website for at least 30 days. If I select 30 days, then Twitter can look back at the previous 30 days and include anyone who has visited my website more than 5 times within this audience. If you do not choose to use the look back option, then your audience is going to start building fresh the moment you save this specific flexible audience. You can add additional conditions to this. Again, it's using the OR format. And again, we can add additional tailored audiences and using the same frequency and look back options. We also have the opportunity to add exclusions. This will give us the option to not include any specific tailored audience within whatever flexible audience you are trying to create. So depending on the 3 tailored audiences that we originally looked at, you can see how you can come up with some custom combinations that are a little bit more specific than what we can do with a standard tailored audience. But I'm going to cancel out of this one. And now let's head back into our campaign creator. So when we're building our campaign and we're looking at our audience options, we can see we can browse by our web-based tailored audiences, and only my remarketing tag one is showing up because I just created that other one and it doesn't have enough users for me to use yet. We see the option to include the list version of the tailored audiences. There's the flexible audience targeting, as well as the mobile audience targeting from your apps. So if all you want to do is a straightforward remarketing campaign, you can go in and create your audience. And once they've populated enough users, you can start browsing for them and then move on to the next section. But if you're looking to expand your reach a little bit and you want to use your remarketing audiences as a good base to start, you can check this little box. And this is Twitter's version of a similar or lookalike audience. Depending on which tailored and flexible audience you've created and selected for your campaign, you can choose to widen the reach a little bit and get in front of new users who have performed similar actions as your tailored audience users within the Twitter ads platform. Just to clarify, we cannot target just your similar users. After audiences, we get down to demographics. And these are pretty straightforward. The first one is gender, and as of right now, Twitter only has 3 options for gender targeting. It's going to be men, women, or any gender, and any gender is going to be either man or woman. Pretty simple right there. Next, we can move on to age. By default, Twitter is going to have you target all ages, but if you want to target by a specific age range, here's where Twitter beats some of the other ad channels in a few ways. If you want to select your specific ages, we see there are a lot more age ranges than we get in some of the other ad platforms. You're not bucketed into just 18 to 24, and then 25 to 34. You can see there are a variety of options with a few different starting age ranges. Age ranges can go as low as 13, and the oldest age range is 50 and up. After age, we get locations, languages, and technology. If you click on the search bar, we see the first option is for your operating system. If we browse there, you have the option to target users specifically by their iOS device or Android device operating system. You can see there are a lot of options to choose from, and it goes actually to some pretty old versions. And the same thing for Android. One thing that's a little annoying is that the versions aren't sorted alphabetically, and they're also not sorted by the version of the operating system itself. So you may have to do a little research if you've really done some deep diving within analytics to see which operating systems are performing the best for you. And then there's an option for other mobile, but every time I've looked, it's only been this one specific option. I've seen the operating system version targeting used a lot for people who are trying to promote their mobile apps on Twitter. If there's a new release coming out or the app isn't compatible with older versions of an operating system, then it's easy for an app marketer to target just the people who can actually download and use the app. It may not be applicable to everyone, but it is an option that you have if you find it's worth it. Next technology option is going to be your platform. And this one doesn't break down any further. So if you want to target just desktop and laptop computers, you can do that. You can target just iOS devices. You can target just Android devices. And then any other platform that's not in the other 3 is going to fall into your other mobile category. Pretty simple here. The next targeting option is going to be languages, and you have just over 20 different languages to choose from when you're advertising with Twitter. Most likely you are going to want to create a different campaign for each language that you want to target, just from the fact that when you get to your ad creatives and what you want to select to use for your ads, you're better speaking to each of those users, and there won't be any confusion on the creatives that you're using if you're an international business running multiple campaigns for different areas around the world. After languages, you have device models. This is going to be ideal if you want to get a little bit more in depth than just targeting all iOS devices or all Android devices. You can see as I'm scrolling, there is a lot to choose from. It may not be worth it to get this specific, but you may find out that there are certain device models that perform way better than the other ones. So you have the option to just target those ones that are consistently performing for you. You also have the option to target specific carriers. And then we get a list of a variety of countries that we can dive in deeper and see all the specific carriers within that country. This is just the United States alone. I see a lot of different carrier options that I have never even heard of. Personally, I've never used the carrier option within my Twitter ads targeting, but it is an option, so we want to make sure that we talk about it and let you know that you can do carrier targeting. And then the last targeting option within this section is going to be locations. Now, by default, when I was creating this campaign, Twitter chose the entire country of the United States because that's where I'm located. If I get rid of that option and go back into locations, we can get a lot more specific than just the country. Just by searching for locations, I can target by the region or the state. If you still want to get more specific than a specific region or a state, you can search for a specific metro area. And then if you want to get really specific, or potentially you're a smaller business that only services a certain area around your location, you can target specific zip codes. And if you already have a list of zip codes that you want to target, it's easy just to click that bulk upload link, choose the zip code option, choose the country you are in, and then copy and paste a list of zip codes, one per line, probably from an Excel sheet, paste it in there, and then you can bulk add them instead of searching for them one by one. It'll save you a lot of time. But I'm going to just keep it at the country level. And before we move on to specific features, I'm going to show you this little button right here. You can choose to target people who first use Twitter on a new device or new carrier. And then you can specify, do you want that user to be within the last period of time that you can select? Or in this case, we can choose people who first used Twitter on a new device or carrier more than a month ago. And that time range can be from 1 month to 6 months. It's going to be the same thing if we choose the within the last option as well. Scrolling down to the audience features section, and clicking on the search bar, we will see more options for us to target for our Twitter ads campaigns. The first one we see is events. And if you click on browse, we get even more subcategories within those events. Let's even dig in deeper and click on browse for sports. You can see looking at the specific date ranges that these events are going to update to show recent sporting events. Just by looking at the date ranges, we can see that these are pretty much within the current season, if it's looking at a league for a sporting event, or if it's a one-off sporting event, we can see future dates after the title of the sporting event. Other event options we could see, like a spelling bee, or just overall graduation. The Olympics is still on here, and it's been on here in Twitter ads for a while, even though we know it's going to be postponed. Other events could be conferences. We see a few big ones in here, like Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference. We see Cyber Week, Cisco Live. And at the time of this recording, all these dates are future dates. We can browse by certain holidays. See Father's Day coming up, some pretty fun ones like National Best Friends Day, National Selfie Day. I'll be honest, I did not know that was a thing. But if you want to get on the fun, come back and check the certain holidays and events. They are changing constantly and always updating. So if you find one that kind of applies to your brand and you can kind of sneak in there and get some brand awareness, it's a good option for you to refresh your targeting and not do the same thing over and over again. There are certain entertainment events. See the MTV Movie and TV Awards, the BET Awards, a few other ones in other countries. And for now, there's only one political event showing up. Depending on the year or potentially what time of year it is, we will see these events be updated as well. Now, besides events, we can also look at specific interests. And the interest list can be pretty long. So here's a quick look of the first subcategories when we look into interest targeting. Initially, it doesn't look like there's a lot to target, but if I go back up, we can click on, again, more subcategories. And I'm clicking into sports again just as another example. If you remember, under the events section, there was a sports category. And one of the events was for the 2020 MLB season. Under interests, there isn't anything for MLB baseball, it's just overall baseball. So people could be interested in Little League, high school, college, independent league baseball, minor league baseball. There's a lot of different overall baseball themes if you're targeting just the interest. If you're looking for just the pro league baseball in the United States, it's the MLB. So you might want to go back to events and change it. Another one I thought was funny is that there isn't an overall basketball category. They only have NBA basketball. And same thing with NFL football. They have these specific ones within the interest category instead of an events category. Just another one really quick, I'm going to hop into business. And here's where the interest can be a little bit more industry focused. Again, there are a lot of different interests to choose from, and they mix from personal to fun and entertainment. And there also could be a good mix of interest targeting for both B2B and B2C companies who might be a little bit leery about testing Twitter. As I said before, there are a lot of interests that we could target on Twitter. And since I don't have time to go over every single one, I wrote a post on the Clicks Marketing blog that lists out every single interest that you can target on Twitter. So if you want to deep dive yourself and look at all the interests before creating your own campaign, just click on the link that you see on the screen right now. Next, you may want to consider conversation targeting. If you look at the nature of what Twitter is itself, it's people engaging in a variety of threads and conversations. And advertisers can choose to target those conversations. There are over 10,000 options for you to target. And since there are that many, you really can't see a list. You have to start searching for these conversation topics yourself. So some of the options that you may want to get in front of are people who are interested in certain TV shows. I just typed in The Masked Singer. It's a guilty pleasure, and we can see there's a variety of options in different countries. I am also a massive Star Wars nerd. So if I just type in Star Wars, I can get into conversation topics about the brand itself, specific movies, video games, books, and I know there are more options if I get more specific with what I want to target. And one of the main ways I've used conversation targeting is to look at current news. Twitter is a very up-to-date platform, and using conversation targeting is a great way to try to capitalize on current conversations and current events. If you're looking to create a campaign that's pretty in and out and you want to do some quick flash advertising, then conversation targeting could be the right option for you. You just have to go in there and look for these topics and see if they're available for you to add to your campaigns. The next option is follower lookalikes. And I'm really glad that Twitter adds lookalikes to this name because it just clarifies what the targeting actually is. You're not targeting an account's actual followers. You're targeting users who are similar to the followers of the usernames we are searching for. So let's pretend the Paid Media Pros channel wants to run some Twitter advertising, and we want to get in front of people who are really interested in just paid media. So we might type in other brands within the paid media space that are very popular and influential. And yes, a lot of these are friends of ours. So just typing in PPC, we see PPC Hero. We've got to call out that our good friend Kirk Williams is showing up. So let's start adding some of these. There's my personal account. There's Michelle's account. And maybe we want to try to get in front of some of the people who go to the search conferences or read the most popular search publications that are out there. And it's really easy to start adding those to your account, and we could see them right there under the follower lookalikes. While we're on this, I'll scroll down a little bit. And if we click on the additional options link, we do have the ability to target your own followers. You do have the ability to target your own followers. And if you click on that button, just to confirm, when you are targeting your own followers, it is not a lookalike. You will target your actual followers. The next audience feature is actually looking for specific keywords. And again, this option has just too much variety for them to give you a list of which keywords are recommended to target. So you're just gonna have to search for some. And let me show you what I mean. Like in this particular option, SaaS shows up as a keyword, so I can add that one, or I can exclude it. But if I'm trying to find more options that are similar, like B2B SaaS, you can see there's no option for me to add that to the account because there just isn't enough volume on Twitter to have that as a keyword option. We can see PPC shows up, pay-per-click shows up, and so on and so on. I can keep going. But to get a better understanding of how keyword targeting works, keyword targeting allows us to try to get in front of users who have typed in these keywords into the search function on Twitter. They've engaged with tweets that have had these keywords in them. They potentially could have clicked on links that had these keywords in them. They could like tweets with these keywords. They could reply to them. So you understand there's a lot of engagement involved on how these keywords could come in the mix and how your targeting could reach users who have interacted with anything on Twitter related to these search terms. So as you're thinking of all the keywords that you would like to target, also think of the negatives. We did see the option to include it as an exclusion, as we see right here, and I can just exclude certain keywords, and now we see them in red below. I'm a paid media guy, so anyone who's looking for SEO, I don't want to show my ads in front of them. And the last audience feature we have is movies and TV shows. And a lot of these actually show up in the conversation topic targeting too. And once again, there are too many options for them to list, so you just have to start searching for any specific movie or TV show you think your target audience likes to watch. If they're consistently engaging with this content on Twitter, and your brand fits within these specific markets or demographics who like these TV shows, then movie and TV show targeting could be a great opportunity for you to build brand awareness and potentially come up with some fun creative and play within these TV shows or movies. I've seen a lot of brands do that before, and they can come across as a very fun brand that you can relate to if they understand your movie, if they understand your TV show. It can really build some good brand affinity and some trust with them. Scrolling down a little bit again, there are just two more options we can talk about really quick. The first toggle lets you retarget people who saw or engaged with any of your previous tweets. First, you can choose your retargeting type of people who saw your tweets or people who saw and engaged with your tweets. Then you can choose what type of tweets they saw or engaged with. So you can keep it as just organic. You can choose tweets from specific campaigns that you've already run in the past if you want to set up some sort of sequencing, or you can do a combination of organic tweets plus tweets from specific campaigns. So if I choose a specific campaign, I can select, and then Twitter's just going to show me any of the previous campaigns that I have set up in the past. And the last option, if you really want to expand your reach on Twitter, is to look at expanding your audience. Facebook has interest targeting expansion, LinkedIn has audience expansion, and this is pretty much the same thing. Now, I mentioned lookalikes and similar type of audiences when talking about the individual targeting options within Twitter. But this option below is for expanding the audience for people who are showing similar characteristics to the collective targeting options we have selected for this campaign. So it doesn't seem like there's a major difference, but the way it works is definitely different than just a follower lookalike or a similar audience from one of your retargeting audiences. And I know that was a lot. There's a good amount of targeting options within Twitter. We just wanted to show you all the different options you have, and hopefully that gives you some sort of interest to go within these Twitter ad campaigns and find out if it's right for your business. Recently, I had a client come to me and ask for all the best targeting options for all the PPC channels that would be best to try to get in front of the certain persona that they had in place. I already had stuff in mind for Google, Pinterest, Facebook, Quora, but for some reason I didn't really think of Twitter as where their target audience might want to be. It wasn't until I actually dug into a lot of the interest and keyword options that we have that I found out that there were some really spot-on targeting options that we wanted to utilize for this campaign. So hopefully looking at all the targeting options that you have within this video gave you some good ideas of what you can test in your own Twitter ads.
Thanks for watching our video. If you found it useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to see more from the Paid Media Pros channel, be sure to subscribe.